The grand chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with low murmurs, each voice heavy with expectation. The vaulted ceiling of the council spire shimmered with artificial starlight, a display meant to symbolize unity. But today, the illusion felt hollow. Ambassador Cole Darnan adjusted the collar of his uniform, standing ramrod straight behind humanity's seat at the long obsidian table. He didn't belong here anymore, and he damn well knew it. For months, Earth's delegation had bent over backward, trying to secure fair terms in the new interstellar trade accords. They'd swallowed insults, endured underhanded tactics, and weathered thinly veiled threats. It was a game, and the other species had been playing it for centuries. But now the humans were done playing. Cole glanced around the table. The Turok High Speaker lounged in his chair, mandibles twitching with smug satisfaction. The sleek-skinned Overin representatives shared a knowing glance, already preparing to carve up what they thought was a crumbling Earth alliance. At the head of the table, the council moderator, a withered Garoon elder, tapped a long claw against the surface, signaling silence. "The human delegation will now submit its final concessions," the moderator rasped. A dozen pairs of alien eyes fixed on Cole. They expected him to beg. They always did. Cole stood, voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. "There will be no concessions." A ripple of confusion spread. Whispers, clicking tongues, rustling feathers. The Turok speaker leaned forward, voice thick with mock concern. "Surely, Ambassador Darnan, you are not refusing the terms laid forth by this council." Cole's jaw tightened. He let the silence stretch just long enough. "You're damn right I am." Shock wasn't something one often saw in a chamber of beings older than human civilization. But for a flickering moment, it was there, raw and unfiltered. He continued, voice gaining force. "For too long, this council has treated humanity as a junior partner, as naive, as weak. You tax our trade routes, seize our colonies under false pretenses, and label our defensive fleets aggressive posturing. We came here in good faith. You answered with betrayal." The Overin delegate clicked softly, amusement curling at the edges of her voice. "Earth's pride blinds it as always. You would isolate yourselves?" Cole's gaze sharpened. "Number, we will outgrow you." A stunned hush fell. He placed a small data crystal on the table. "Effective immediately, the Terran Alliance withdraws from this council. All existing treaties are null and void. Our ships will no longer answer your summons. Our worlds will no longer submit to your inspections. And if you move against us—" He paused, cold steel in his voice. "You will find out just how much we've learned in these last 50 years. The council moderator's claws drummed faster. "Ambassador, this is unwise. The balance was never balanced," Cole shot back. "It was a leash. We see that now." He reached down, picking up the Terran banner, a simple blue flag stitched with a silver star, and folded it under his arm. Without another word, he turned on his heel and strode from the chamber. The heavy doors hissed shut behind him with a final, echoing boom. Inside, chaos erupted. Council members spoke over one another, voices rising in panic. The humans had been the newcomers, yes, but they were also unpredictable, dangerous, and now unbound. Far above the council spire, in orbit, the first Terran battlecruisers were already powering their jump drives. Within hours, Earth's diplomats would be gone from every major hub. Cole stood on the balcony of the human embassy, watching the stars. He felt no triumph, only grim resolve. He knew what was coming next. They would try to punish Earth. They would try to break them. But they had made one fatal mistake. They had taught humanity how to fight. And now they would find out what a human fight really looked like. Cole Darnan didn't sleep that night. Not that he'd expected to. From the moment he'd walked out of the council chamber, the human embassy had been in a state of controlled panic. Staff scrambled to secure sensitive data. Shuttle crews loaded the last diplomats and envoys for immediate extraction. Every human embassy across council space had received the same command: evacuate and burn any trace. Cole leaned on the balcony railing, looking out at the swirling clouds of the planet below. The council's capital world, Valar, was a shining beacon of interspecies cooperation. Or so they told themselves. Underneath the polished surface, it was a snake pit. Cole had spent enough time here to know better. Behind him, the embassy's security chief, Commander Rex Maddox, approached, boots thudding on the stone. A grim-faced veteran with iron-gray hair and sharp eyes, Maddox was one of the few people Cole trusted absolutely. "It's done," Maddox said quietly. "Final shuttle's launched. Our encryption cores are slagged. We're clean." Cole exhaled slowly. "Good. Any word from Fleet?" "Task Force Sigma is holding at the edge of the system. Jump drives primed. They'll cover our withdrawal." Cole nodded. The Council would react, fast and dirty. He had no illusions about that. "They'll try to stop us," Cole said flatly. Maddox gave a humorless smile. "Let 'em try." A sharp chime interrupted them, the embassy's secure comlink. Maddox tapped his earpiece, listened, then frowned. "It's Admiral Stannis," he said. "Fleetcom priority channel." Cole straightened. "Patch it through." Inside the embassy's war room, the holodisplay flared to life. Admiral Gareth Stannis appeared, severe and composed in his fleet uniform. His deep-set eyes met Cole's through the feed. "You've stirred up a hornet's nest, Cole," Stannis said without preamble. "Council fleets are mobilizing. Word is the Turok and the Overin are pushing for immediate sanctions, military blockade." "Expected," Cole replied. "They won't let us leave clean." But they're underestimating us, as always." Stannis' mouth twitched. "Orders." "Initiate Protocol Iron Gate," Cole said. "No human asset remains vulnerable. I want every colony, every trade convoy, every listening post brought to full defensive posture." Stannis nodded. "Already in motion." "And if they move to interdict our ships?" "We shoot our way out," Stannis said grimly. "Fleet Command's cleared the rules of engagement. No more second chances." Cole's expression hardened. "Good." The feed ended. Maddox glanced at him. "That's it then," the commander said. "We're at war. Maybe not officially, but we both know how this goes." Cole didn't reply. He was already moving, striding back toward the shuttle bay. The embassy was abandoned now, sterile, stripped bare. Only the evacuation team remained. As they boarded the last dropship, Cole looked back once, just once, at the spire of the council tower looming in the distance. For 5 decades, humanity had played their game, hoping for acceptance, trying to be part of their so-called galactic community. And they'd been mocked for it, used, exploited, no more. The dropship launched, engines roaring. Moments later, they were climbing into orbit, stars glittering against the black. Above them, the sleek forms of Terran battlecruisers waited, bristling with weaponry far beyond what the Council suspected. The humans had kept their best toys off the books, for exactly this day. Cole strapped in beside Maddox as the dropship docked with the flagship TSS Resolute. The ship's interior was a stark contrast to the Council's opulent chambers. Functional, hard-edged, human. No illusions here. "Admiral Stannis is waiting on the bridge," Maddox said. Cole didn't waste time. Minutes later, he stood on the bridge of the Resolute, a sea of officers working with precise efficiency. Stannis greeted him with a curt nod. "We've detected Council ships moving to blockade our jump vector," the Admiral reported. "Mostly Turok frigates and Overin interceptors. Light forces, but they're sending a message." Cole's lip curled. "Then we'll send one back," Stannis's eyes gleamed. Permission to engage if challenged? Granted. The bridge crew sprang into action. The Resolute and her sister ships shifted formation, moving to shield the outbound human vessels. On the tactical display, the Council ships formed a loose cordon. Confident, arrogant, they still thought they held the leash. A cold silence fell as the two forces drifted closer. Then a sharp ping. Incoming transmission. The face of the Turok high speaker appeared, mandibles clicking in faux courtesy. "Ambassador Darnan," the alien said smoothly, "you must understand this blockade is for your own protection. The Council has not authorized your withdrawal. Stand down, and this matter can still be negotiated." Cole's reply was ice. "We're done talking." He cut the feed. At his nod, Stannis gave the order. Human guns spoke first. In a blaze of coordinated fire, Terran rail cannons and particle beams lanced out, tearing through the thin Council line. Turok frigates buckled under the onslaught, hulls rupturing. Overin interceptors scattered, some trying to return fire, most simply running. Cole watched without flinching. This wasn't diplomacy. This was clarity. Within minutes, the blockade was shattered, the jump point cleared. "All ships ready for FTL transition," the comm officer reported. Cole gave a single command. "Execute." One by one, the Terran ships vanished into the void, leaving the Council fleet adrift among the wreckage. Hours later, Cole stood aboard the Resolute, staring at the holofeed from Earth. The news had already broken. Across human space, reactions were mixed. Fear, anger, exhilaration. On the Council networks, the narrative was pure spin, Terran aggression, unprovoked attack, reckless withdrawal. Let them howl. Fleet Command was already moving to harden the borders. New alliances were forming, old Earth-first factions rising with sudden strength. Humanity had been pushed into a corner, and now it was baring its teeth. Maddox entered, holding a data pad. "Intercepted comms," he said. "Council emergency session convened. Turok and Overin calling for unified action against us." Cole arched a brow. "And the rest?" "The Garoon are cautious. The Zentari want no part of it. They're afraid of us now. The Dravari, uncertain. We've shaken them." Cole absorbed that. Not a full war yet, but close. The Council was splintering. They'd never faced a human enemy with nothing to lose. "Let them come," Cole said softly. "We're ready." He looked out at the stars, jaw set. For too long, humanity had played by rules written by others. They'd begged for a seat at the table, only to be treated as pawns. Now the table was overturned, and humanity was writing its own rules. News of the skirmish at Valar spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within 12 hours, every major Council world was in uproar. Holofeeds screamed headlines. "Terran aggression escalates. Council fleets routed at Valar. Human withdrawal threatens galactic stability." Behind the propaganda, fear simmered. Humanity had not only left the negotiation table, it had walked away through a wall of wreckage. On Earth, Admiral Gareth Stannis stood before the High Command in a sealed war room beneath the North Atlantic Defense Complex. A dozen of Earth's top military minds sat in the darkened chamber. No politicians, no diplomats. This was no longer their fight. Cole Darnan sat beside the Admiral, uniform crisp, face carved from stone. He'd barely slept since leaving Valar, and it showed. Not that it mattered. Fatigue was a luxury now. Stannis's voice was low and precise. "Council response will be rapid and disorganized. The Turok and Overin factions are already demanding joint fleet action. We estimate their first retaliatory strike will hit one of our border systems within 72 hours. General Orlan, a grizzled old warhorse from the Terran Marine Corps, snorted. "Let them come. They think we're still the same soft species that crawled to them 50 years ago." "We aren't," Stannis agreed. "But they'll test us, and hard." He activated a holomap of known Council space. Red markers flared where human colonies bordered Council member territories. Vulnerable worlds, supply hubs, targets. "The Overin will strike our trade corridors," Stannis continued. "Turok forces will go for military objectives. They want to bleed us." A murmur of grim assent circled the table. Cole spoke up, voice flat. "They'll try to provoke a limited war. Sanction raids, border clashes, enough to force us back to the table in chains." Stannis nodded. "Which is why we won't fight their war." He keyed the display again. New markers appeared: Terran covert fleets, hidden strike groups, deep recon elements long placed in Council space, the fruit of decades of quiet preparation. "For years we played by their rules," Stannis said. "Meanwhile, we built weapons they never allowed, trained fleets they never tracked. Now they're going to see just how badly they misjudged us." Cole's eyes gleamed coldly. About damn time. Orders were issued, fleet groups mobilized, colonies armed to the teeth, Earth's hidden hand prepared to strike. There would be no appeasement, no retreat. This was now a fight for survival and dominance. 2 days later, in the border system of Ravenna, the war began in earnest. A Turok fleet, 6 heavy cruisers, 15 escorts, jumped into the system without warning. Their goal was simple: smash the Terran outpost, seize the orbital platforms, display Council strength. What they found was a kill zone. As the first Turok ships emerged from FTL, they were met with a wall of fire. Human gun platforms, previously camouflaged, lit up with rail cannon bursts and hypersonic missile salvos. Within minutes, the first wave of Turok escorts were gutted. Their cruisers pushed forward, only to encounter a wolf pack of Terran stealth frigates armed with next-gen torpedoes. The battle was brutal and short. When it ended, the Turok fleet lay in ruins. Human casualties were light. No quarter had been given. Admiral Stannis stood on the bridge of the TSS Valiant, watching the aftermath. His comm officer reported that Council channels were ablaze with panic. "They thought we'd hesitate," Stannis said quietly. "They thought wrong. Back on Earth, the political landscape shifted with seismic force. Public opinion turned fast. For decades, there'd been factions advocating peace with the Council, integration, harmony. Those voices were now drowned out by outrage and pride. Across human space, men and women enlisted in record numbers. War factories ramped up production. The Council's betrayal had ignited something deep in the human psyche. An old, primal instinct. Cole Darnan saw it firsthand as he returned to Earth. Crowds greeted him at the spaceport, not with fear but with fury. They called him a hero for walking out of Valor, for standing tall when no one else would. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man who had run out of options. In a private briefing with Earth's Interim War Council, Cole spoke plainly. "They will escalate," he said. "They have to. The Council can't afford to let us become an example." The planetary governor, a hard-eyed veteran named Marcus Varen, agreed. "We can't just wait for the next hit." "No," Cole said. "We hit them first." He outlined a bold plan: strike key Council assets, disrupt their logistics, force fractures in their unity. Not a war of defense, a war of momentum. Varen leaned back, considering. Then he gave the nod. "Do it." In the following weeks, Terran forces struck with calculated fury. In the Draenor sector, a secret Overin shipyard was obliterated by human Black Ops teams using experimental gravitic warheads. On the fringes of Turok space, Terran raiders ambushed convoy lines, seizing resources and leaving wreckage as a message. Every Council retaliation was met with disproportionate response. For every human loss, 5 Council ships burned. The balance of fear began to shift. In the halls of the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. The council moderator barely kept order as factions screamed accusations. The Turok High Speaker demanded full-scale war. The Overin delegates called for sanctions and blockades, all of which had failed. The Garoon and Zentari factions wavered, fearing Earth's rising power. Worse, reports filtered in of other minor species watching the humans and considering revolt. Humanity had broken the illusion of council invincibility. Behind closed doors, the council leaders spoke in hushed tones. "They should have folded by now," one Garoon elder hissed. "They are mad," the Overin replied. "They do not fear death." No, they didn't. They'd been backed into a corner and forced to bare their fangs. In orbit above Titan, Cole stood aboard the newly commissioned TSS Nemesis, a dreadnought bristling with weapons banned under council law. He watched as the fleet assembled, dozens of ships, an iron fist ready to strike. Maddox joined him on the observation deck. "Word from Intel," Maddox said. "The Council's preparing a summit, a last-ditch attempt to bring us to heel." Cole's eyes narrowed. "They think we'll crawl back." Maddox's mouth twisted. "Not after this." Cole turned back to the stars, voice low and sure. "We're done asking for respect. Now we take it." The Council Summit was held in a fortress of pride and desperation. Deep in the ancient citadel of Madras, on the Council world of Helene, representatives from every surviving faction gathered beneath the towering crystal spires. The great chamber was filled with tension so thick it seemed to weigh down the air itself. The moderator called for order, but none truly listened. The council was fractured. Weeks of Terran strikes had shattered their confidence. The Turok High Speaker slammed his massive fist on the table, mandibles flaring. "They must be destroyed, every human world scoured, every fleet crushed." An Overin delegate countered, voice dripping disdain. "Easier said than done. Our fleets lie in ruin. Their weapons surpass expectation." The Garoon elder, once smug, now sounded tired. "We are bleeding influence. The Zentari worlds consider neutrality. The Dravari will not commit their fleets." Fear. Division. Seeds planted by human hands now taking root. A new voice spoke, cold and sharp. Ambassador Varek of the Turok Dominion. "They will not return to the table willingly, so we must break their spirit." A plan was proposed. Target the heart of human civilization, Earth itself. Not a full invasion, too costly. A demonstration strike, terror, fear, force humanity to kneel. Desperate, the council agreed. A task force was formed. Turok dreadnoughts, Overin stealth cruisers, Garoon artillery ships. A hammer, poised to strike at the cradle of mankind. Word reached Earth through shadow channels, a leaked transmission from a sympathetic Zentari merchant. Fleet Command called an emergency meeting. In the war room beneath the Atlantic Defense Complex, Cole Darnan stood with Admiral Stannis, General Orlan, and Governor Varen. The mood was steel. "They're coming for Earth," Stannis said bluntly. "We estimate a strike group large enough to cripple our orbital defenses." Cole's jaw tightened. "They want to force us back to the table. Show us our place." Orlan's eyes burned. "I say we show them theirs." Stannis keyed the display. "They'll enter through the Sirius Gate, the only viable jump corridor into Sol for a fleet that size." Cole studied the tactical map. The Council thought Earth was vulnerable, but Earth had prepared for this moment for decades. "We let them come," Cole said quietly. "And then we bury them." In orbit above Titan, the human fleet gathered, a wall of iron and fire. At its heart, the TSS Nemesis, Cole's command ship, gleamed with predatory grace. Admiral Stannis coordinated the defense. Cole stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the stars. Every ship in the Terran Armada was crewed by men and women who had grown up under Council arrogance, who had seen their worlds taxed, their fleets limited, their dignity mocked. Now they stood ready to repay the insult in blood. The hours dragged as scouts confirmed the Council fleet's approach. Finally, the alarm sounded. "Enemy fleet emerging at Sirius Gate," the comm officer barked. "Multiple dreadnought signatures." On the view screen, the Council Armada appeared, vast, gleaming, arrogant. They advanced toward Sol space, certain of victory. Cole's voice rang clear. "All hands, battle stations." Sirens blared. Across the fleet, gunners primed weapons. Fighters launched. Stealth wings moved into position. On the Nemesis, Cole stood tall beside Maddox. "This is it," Maddox said. "They think we'll break." Cole's gaze was steel. "Then let's show them how humans break." The first shots came from the Council, long-range plasma lances, arcing toward Earth's outer defenses. But the humans had laid a trap. As the enemy fleet advanced, Terran stealth ships uncloaked from hidden asteroid fields, unleashing a barrage of gravitic mines. The leading Council dreadnought shuddered and exploded, torn apart by invisible forces. Council formations wavered. Then the human main fleet surged forward, rail cannons roaring, torpedoes streaking, space lit with fire. The Council fleet, overconfident, found itself caught in a kill zone. Turok cruisers crumpled under precision strikes. Overran stealth ships were flushed out by advanced EM pulses, then hunted down. On the Nemesis, Cole barked orders. "Focus fire on their command ship. Cut off their coordination." The human dreadnoughts poured fire into the enemy flagship. Its shields failed. Moments later, it vanished in a ball of molten wreckage. Across the Council fleet, panic spread. The humans pressed harder, relentless, cold, disciplined. Years of being underestimated had forged them into warriors the Council had never truly seen. In one brutal hour, the enemy fleet was shattered. The survivors fled, scattering into deep space. Earth had held. The Council's blow had failed, spectacularly. Cheers erupted across human space. For the first time in living memory, Earth had not just survived a galactic assault, it had humiliated its enemies. In the war room, Cole stood with Stannis and Orlan. "We've sent the message," Stannis said grimly. "Loud and clear." Orlan grinned. "And now we go on the offensive." Cole's eyes burned with resolve. "Yes, no more defense. No more playing nice. We take this fight to them." Even as the wreckage of the Council fleet drifted beyond Pluto, new orders went out. Human strike groups launched deep raids into enemy space. Terran agents spread unrest on Council worlds, fueling rebellion. Blockades strangled Council trade. And on Earth, factories roared, building new ships, new weapons. The people stood united as never before. Humanity had been pushed too far. Now, it was their turn to push back. In the Council chambers, the horror was palpable. The Turok High Speaker lay silent. The Overran delegates whispered in fear. The Garoon moderator struggled to maintain order. The human victory at Sirius Gate had shattered illusions. For the first time, the Council faced an enemy they could not predict, a species driven not by conquest, but by the burning memory of humiliation and betrayal. Worse, whispers spread among the Zentari, the Dravari, even among the smaller species, that perhaps the humans were not the villains here. Perhaps the Council's arrogance had forged its own nemesis. A grim truth settled over the chamber. Humanity would not be brought to heel. And now, it was coming for them. The days after the battle at Sirius Gate were some of the busiest in Cole Darnan's life. There was no rest, no victory lap, no celebration. Humanity had bloodied the Council, yes, but this war was far from over. Earth's survival had proven one thing: humanity was no longer a pawn at the table. But now they had crossed a line, one that would change the galaxy forever. Cole stood on the bridge of the TSS Nemesis, now leading a battle group deep into the frontier sectors of Council space. Around him, a dozen Terran warships drifted in formation. Cruisers, frigates, stealth corvettes. The stars beyond were cold and hostile. Beside him, Maddox glanced at the latest reports. Skirmishes in the Dravari Reach. One of our trade convoys attacked, no survivors. Cole's jaw tightened. Council proxies. Yeah, they're testing us. Hit and run, deniable operations. Cowards' war. Cole exhaled slowly. It was expected. The Council wouldn't risk another full fleet action yet. Not after the humiliation at Earth. Instead, they'd fight dirty, using client species and pirates to bleed humanity slowly. He turned to his officers. We change the game. No more reacting. We strike where it hurts. Across the holotable, red markers blinked. Known Council supply hubs, fuel depots, communications nexuses, targets. Hit their arteries, Cole continued. Cut off their logistics. Make them bleed credits and morale. Maddox grinned. About time we stopped playing defense. Back on Earth, the War Council met in secret. Governor Varen presided, flanked by Stannis and Orlan. Cole joined them via secure hololink from the Nemesis. Public support is holding, Varen reported. In fact, it's surging. The people want us to hit back harder. Stannis nodded. Fleet production is ahead of schedule. New ships launching daily. We'll have 3 more dreadnoughts operational within the month. Cole's image flickered slightly. We need to move faster. The Council's splintering, but if they regroup, they'll throw everything they have. Orlan leaned forward. What do you propose? Cole didn't hesitate. Take the fight to their core sectors. Show them nowhere is safe. A risky move, but one that could shift the entire war. The Council had long believed its core worlds, the ancient capitals of Turok, Ovrin, Garun space, were untouchable. A strike there would shatter that illusion and fracture Council unity even further. Varen's eyes narrowed. You'll have authorization. Days later, deep in the Ravix corridor, Cole's battle group prepared for its boldest mission yet. The target, Karthus, a key Turok supply world and military staging ground. Striking it would cripple Council operations in 6 sectors. As the Nemesis approached jump range, Maddox stood beside Cole in the dim war room. Intel says the outer defenses are heavy, Maddox said. They're scared. Reinforced the system after Sirius Gate. Cole's expression was iron. Fear makes them sloppy. He addressed the fleet commanders via holo. This is not a raid. We hit them hard, and we stay long enough to leave scars they can't hide. A chorus of acknowledgments followed. The Battle of Karthus began in fire and fury. Human stealth corvettes penetrated the outer perimeter first, taking out sensor arrays and jamming comms. Moments later, the main fleet emerged from FTL, rail cannons blazing. Council defenders scrambled, Turok warships moving to intercept. But they were caught flat-footed. Human tactics were unpredictable, aggressive, without the ceremonial caution the Council navies still clung to. Within minutes, the first orbital station was gutted. Supply depots erupted in plumes of plasma and debris. Turok cruisers tried to rally and were cut down in precision strikes. On the Nemesis, Cole's voice rang across the fleet channels. Keep pressure on the inner ring. We hold until we've done real damage. The battle raged for hours. Council reinforcements arrived late, a small Garun flotilla that immediately faced the full brunt of human firepower. Another message to the galaxy. Even the mighty Garun were no match for a prepared Terran fleet. By the time the humans withdrew, Karthus burned. Half its orbital infrastructure lay in ruin. The Council would need months, maybe years, to rebuild. The shockwaves hit the Council harder than any fleet loss. In the Great Chamber, fear turned to outright panic. The humans had struck deep, at a world they were never supposed to reach. Now even the Garoon elders whispered doubts. "We cannot contain them," one admitted. "They fight without restraint, without fear." The Turok High Speaker raged, demanding escalation, but the Overin delegation hesitated. Their spies brought troubling reports, human black ops teams stirring rebellion on Council fringe worlds, slave populations rising, discontent spreading. The humans weren't just fighting fleets, they were tearing at the very fabric of the Council. Back on the Nemesis, Cole reviewed the after-action reports with Maddox and his senior officers. "Council chatter is a mess," Maddox said. "They're terrified we'll hit more core worlds." Cole's eyes were cold. "Good. Keep them terrified." He leaned back, gaze distant for a moment. "We can't stop now. Every blow must be harder than the last." One of his officers, a young commander named Hawk, spoke. "Sir, what's the endgame?" A fair question, Cole answered without hesitation. "Break the Council's grip, destroy their authority, give humanity, and every species they've oppressed, the chance to breathe free. And if that meant burning half the Council worlds to ash, so be it." Weeks passed. The war spread like wildfire. Human fleets struck across multiple sectors. Council responses grew desperate and disorganized. Each new human victory emboldened more species to resist. On fringe worlds, banners rose, some declaring neutrality, others outright rebellion. The Council's illusion of unity was crumbling. In one sector, the Zentari worlds announced their withdrawal from the Council. In another, a minor species enslaved for centuries by the Turok rose in armed revolt, aided by Terran weapons. A new reality dawned. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. It was leading a revolution. Cole returned to Earth briefly for high-level strategy talks. The mood in the War Council was stark, but confident. "We've crossed the Rubicon," Varen said. "There's no going back. No peace now. Not with them." Stannis agreed. "Our fleets are winning, but we can't let up. The Council will throw everything into a last stand." Cole's voice was steady. "Then we'll be ready." He looked around the table, at the hardened faces of men who had once hoped for peace. Now they knew better. "This is our war," Cole said. "Our fight, and we finish it, on our terms." Far away, in the shadowed depths of the Council chamber, a grim meeting took place. The surviving leaders of the Council factions gathered in secret. "They will not stop," the Garoon elder whispered. "Their rage drives them." "We made them this," an Overin delegate admitted bitterly. "Years of exploitation, of arrogance." The Turok High Speaker remained defiant. "Then we fight, to the end." But others were less sure. The Council was bleeding allies, bleeding fleets, bleeding legitimacy, and somewhere in the back of every mind, a new and terrifying thought had taken root. What if the humans couldn't be stopped? The cold stars beyond the bridge of the TSS Nemesis seemed closer now. Cole Darnan stood with arms folded behind his back, gaze fixed on the tactical displays. The war had accelerated faster than anyone could have predicted. In weeks, humanity had gone from an isolated target to the spearhead of a galactic revolt. Across Council space, the fractures deepened. Reports streamed in hourly, rebellions on former slave worlds, pirate fleets pledging loyalty to Earth, neutral species refusing Council summons, and above it all, the Terran fleets pushed deeper. Maddox approached, datapad in hand. "Latest intel," the commander said. "The Overin delegation is breaking from the Council war block, refusing to commit further ships." Cole nodded slightly. "They know we're coming." And the Garoon? Maddox asked. Cole's jaw tightened. Still on the fence, but for how long? He looked over the star map. One glaring red sector remained. Turok core space, the heart of Council military power, the most brutal species, the most loyal to the old order. Cole knew the next phase was inevitable. We go for the throat, he said quietly. In Earth's War Council chambers, the mood was clear. Finish the fight. Governor Varen addressed the room. Our fleets dominate half the Council border sectors. The momentum is ours. Admiral Stannis stood beside Cole, arms crossed. The Turok have declared full martial law across their territory. They're preparing for a last stand. Varen's eyes hardened. We can't allow them to regroup. Cole spoke with grim resolve. Then we take their core systems, break their fleets, show the galaxy the Council is finished. The room fell silent, not from doubt, but from sheer gravity. This would be the boldest strike yet. 2 weeks later, the Terran Grand Fleet launched. It was the largest human armada ever assembled. 3 dreadnoughts, 20 heavy cruisers, dozens of escorts and carriers. A force meant not just to raid, but to conquer. The target, Vakor, the Turok throne world, political, military, symbolic center of the Council's iron fist. On the Nemesis, Cole reviewed the battle plan with his senior officers. Maddox stood at his side, eyes sharp. This will be bloody, Maddox said. Cole's voice was steel. So be it. They both knew what was at stake. Vakor was more than a world. It was a symbol of centuries of oppression. Its fall would shatter what remained of Council unity. The fleet reached Vakor space under full stealth protocols. Human cloaking tech, once restricted by Council treaties, had advanced far beyond what their enemies expected. As the first recon probes swept the system, Cole stood on the command deck. The holodisplay revealed dense orbital defenses, layered gun platforms, minefields, massive Turok battle stations. Maddox studied the feed. Heavily fortified. They've been preparing? Cole's eyes burned. Doesn't matter. He turned to the fleet channels. All ships, battle formation. We strike in 20 minutes. When the Terran fleet decloaked, the system lit with alarms. Turok defense stations scrambled, planetary shields activated, war drums echoed through the void. But humanity had come prepared. The opening salvo was devastating. Coordinated rail cannon strikes shattered outer stations. Gravitic torpedoes breached minefields. Terran strike wings disabled key defense hubs within minutes. On the Nemesis, Cole watched without flinching. Push through, he ordered. We take orbit. The Turok fleet surged to meet them. Heavy warships painted in blood-red sigils, ancient hulls bearing the scars of countless wars. But for all their savagery, the Turok still fought by old doctrine. Brute force, direct assault. The humans fought smarter. Terran battle groups danced through the engagement zones, using superior maneuvering and precision fire. Stealth frigates flanked the Turok vanguard, gutting them from within. The battle raged for hours. In the end, the Turok line broke. Human dreadnoughts achieved planetary orbit, pounding surface defenses. Dropships deployed elite marine units to secure key ground installations. As Vakor burned, the galaxy watched. News of the assault spread faster than the Council could censor. On 100 worlds, oppressed species rose in open revolt. On neutral planets, Council ambassadors were thrown out or arrested, and in the Council chamber itself, chaos. The Garoon Elder addressed the crumbling assembly. We can no longer contain this. The Council is finished. The Turok High Speaker, bloodied and raging, demanded vengeance, but the others knew it was too late. The humans had done what none thought possible. They had broken the unbreakable. On the surface of Vakor, Cole walked through the ruins of the Turok High Citadel. Beside him, Maddox surveyed the shattered symbols of power. "Never thought I'd see this." Cole's voice was low. Neither did they. They entered the central chamber. The walls still bore the ancient carvings of Turok dominance, now scorched and blackened. Cole turned to his comm team. "Transmit this image to all channels. Let the galaxy see." Moments later, the image of Cole standing in the fallen Turok throne room flashed across 1,000 star systems. It was the death knell of the Council's myth of superiority. In orbit, the Terran fleet regrouped. Admiral Stannis contacted Cole via secure channel. "Reports coming in. Garoon worlds declaring neutrality. Overin leadership fractured. Smaller species negotiating with us directly." Cole nodded. "Good. Keep the pressure on." He looked out at the stars beyond Vakor. This is just the beginning. Back on Earth, humanity stood united as never before. Across cities and colonies, news feeds showed the burning council symbols, the fall of Vakor. Recruitment soared. Industry boomed. For the first time, humanity had a place not just in the galaxy, but above it. In the War Council, Varen addressed the assembly. "We've broken their grip. Now we decide what comes next." Eyes turned to Cole. He spoke without hesitation. "We build a new order, one where no species bows to another." The war was not over. Not yet. Pockets of resistance remained. Rogue council fleets still prowled the stars. But the tide was irreversible. Humanity had left the council's table. Now it was building its own. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The fall of Vakor sent aftershocks through every corner of the galaxy. Worlds that had bowed to council power for centuries now watched those banners burn. For the first time, species long cowed by Turok fleets and Overin merchants glimpsed the possibility of freedom and vengeance. And they had a model: humanity. A species once mocked, controlled, taxed, and belittled, now leading a campaign that shattered the old order. Cole Darnan returned to Earth only briefly after the conquest of Vakor. He spent 2 days locked in high-command briefings beneath the Atlantic Defense Complex. The War Council faced a new kind of challenge now: managing victory. Governor Varan opened the session with typical bluntness. "We've done what no one thought possible," he said. "But unfinished wars are the most dangerous. The Council remnants are regrouping, rogue fleets, pirate coalitions, and not all species are ready to join us yet." Stannis added, "Turok warbands have scattered. Some are pledging loyalty to warlords, some going rogue. We can't leave a power vacuum." Cole sat forward, his face drawn from weeks of war but his gaze sharp. "We won't," he said. "We press the advantage, fast." He tapped the holomap. Red sectors marked Council Core remnants. Orange sectors, newly risen rebellions. Green, species declaring neutrality or open alignment with Earth. But a jagged black region remained, known Council loyalist space. "They're gathering there," Cole said. "The old guard, whatever they can salvage." Orland scowled. "Let 'em gather. Easier to burn them all at once." Varen nodded slowly. "We'll need to strike decisively. No half measures." Cole's voice was cold. "We finish what we started." And so began Operation Final Dawn, humanity's drive to crush the last organized council resistance. Fleet production shifted into overdrive. Rebellion leaders were armed and trained. Terran strike teams infiltrated council strongholds ahead of the assault. The message was clear: no safe harbors, no second chances. On board the TSS Nemesis, Cole met with Maddox and his senior officers. "The rogue council fleet is massing near the Zagran Expanse," Maddox reported. "Estimated 30 war-capable ships, Turok, Garoon defectors, a few mercenary bands." Cole's jaw set. They want one last battle. Maddox gave a dark smile. Then let's give it to them. As the Terran Grand Fleet mobilized, the galaxy watched. The rebellion spread faster now. On a dozen worlds, former council governors were overthrown. Slave markets burned. Symbols of the old regime toppled. And across the dark networks of council space, whispers grew. The humans are coming. At Zegran Expanse, the final confrontation began. The rogue council fleet had chosen its ground, a dense nebula field, riddled with sensor interference, an attempt to neutralize human technological advantages. But Cole was ready. As the fleet approached, he addressed his captains via holo. This is their last stand. The old order's death throes. We will not relent. We will not show mercy. The battle was chaos and slaughter. Council warships emerged from the nebula, firing blind. Human stealth wings lured them into kill zones, where waiting dreadnoughts delivered precise, brutal strikes. Turok warbands charged recklessly and were cut down. Garoon defectors tried coordinated assaults, but human jammers left them blind and fragmented. On the Nemesis Bridge, Cole stood calm amid the storm. "Maintain pressure," he ordered. "No escapes." The Terran fleet advanced relentlessly, driving deeper into the enemy formation. Human Marines boarded key ships, seizing intelligence and eliminating command crews. By the battle's end, the rogue council fleet was gone. Human losses were light. Morale was unshaken. And the message was undeniable. The council was dead. In the aftermath, Cole stood with Maddox on the observation deck of the Nemesis. The shattered hulks of council ships drifted amid the nebula's glow. Maddox exhaled slowly. That's it. The last real fleet. Cole nodded. But not the last fight. He knew it wouldn't be so simple. There would be warlords, pirates, remnants clinging to old power. But the myth of council invincibility was shattered. And now the galaxy itself was changing. Across neutral worlds, new alliances formed. The Zentari Confederation formally aligned with Earth. The Dravari worlds opened trade talks. Even former council-aligned species now courted Terran diplomats. In the power vacuum, humanity emerged as the new center of gravity. But victory brought new dangers. In the War Council chambers, Varen addressed the leadership. "The galaxy watches us now," he said. "Some with hope, some with fear." Stannis added, "If we show weakness, old powers will rise again. If we rule with tyranny, we'll become what we fought." Eyes turned to Cole. He spoke slowly, but with conviction. "We don't rebuild the council," he said. "We build something new, a free alliance, equal partners. But with strength enough that no one forgets what happens when they push humanity too far." Back aboard the Nemesis, Cole prepared for the next phase. He met with Maddox in the command quarters. "This isn't peace yet," Maddox said. Cole nodded. "It's the start." He looked out at the stars. "We fought to survive. Then we fought to win. Now we fight to shape what comes next." In distant shadows, the remnants of the old order plotted revenge. Small bands of loyalists whispered of assassination, of terror strikes, of one day reclaiming power. But the galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed, and every species, ally or enemy, now knew the truth. The Council had watched in horror as humanity left the negotiation table, and the galaxy belonged to no one anymore. The stars of the galaxy seemed quieter in the weeks that followed Zegran Expanse. For the first time in living memory, no Council fleet moved in open space. No grand decrees were issued from the Council chamber. No tribute ships sailed toward core worlds. The mighty had fallen. But Cole Darnan knew wars didn't end because one side stopped shooting. They ended when the victors finished the job. and Earth's victory was not yet secure. From the bridge of the TSS Nemesis, Cole reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Maddox stood beside him, arms crossed. "Pirate activity is spiking," Maddox said. "Turok warbands running wild on the rim. Black market tech moving fast. Rogue Garoon syndicates stirring trouble." Cole's gaze was cold. "They're scavengers. They smell blood." "Yeah," Maddox agreed. "But they can still cause chaos. We let this spiral. We lose control." Cole nodded. "We won't." He turned to his officers. "Deploy rapid response groups. Full authority. No safe havens." The room acknowledged in unison. On Earth, the political front was no less turbulent. Governor Varen summoned the War Council to an emergency session. "The galaxy's watching," Varen began. "Every neutral world, every new ally. They're waiting to see what kind of power we become." Admiral Stannis leaned in. "We've got the military edge, but if we come down like tyrants, we'll face endless rebellion." Cole, seated at the head of the table, spoke with calm authority. "We fought this war to end the old system, not to replace it with another empire." He tapped the holomap. New alliances glowed in green, rebellious sectors in orange, rogue regions in red. "We lead by example," Cole continued. "Strength without arrogance, order without oppression." The council members exchanged looks, approval, but also wariness. The line between peacekeeper and conqueror was thin. Too thin. The first test came quickly. A Turok warlord named Kravax seized control of a former council weapons facility on the rim. Broadcasting defiance, he declared himself heir to Turok supremacy, and issued a bounty on any human ship entering his claimed space. Cole's response was swift. The Nemesis and 2 strike groups jumped to the sector within days. No negotiations, no mercy. The battle for Ravik Station was brutal. Kravax's forces were savage. Loyal fanatics willing to die for the old order. The station bristled with stolen council weapons. Human ships took heavy fire on approach, but humanity had learned well and adapted faster. Terran Marines breached the station's hull in coordinated strikes. Room by room, deck by deck, they cleared the defenders. Cole led from the front. No diplomat's robes now, just body armor and a rifle, eyes sharp as steel. He fought like a man who had seen too many betrayals, too many lies, and he made damn sure the enemy knew it. By dawn, Ravok Station was in ruins. Kravax's headless corpse broadcast on open channels. A message: the Council's ghosts would not rise again. In the weeks that followed, a pattern emerged. Human rapid response fleets stamped out pirate enclaves and warlord strongholds. Rogue factions surrendered or fled. On liberated worlds, Terran commanders helped install provisional councils, but made no claim of ownership. And slowly, across the stars, a new respect and fear of humanity took root. But with victory came new dangers. In a secure meeting aboard the Nemesis, Maddox voiced the hard truth. "The longer we hold this much power," he said, "the more some will want to keep it." Cole understood. The seeds of empire grew fast in victorious soil. Already, factions on Earth whispered of dominance, of taking what the Council had once ruled. Cole would not allow it. He summoned the top fleet commanders and political leaders to a summit on Earth, a summit of free worlds. Held in Geneva, beneath banners of human and allied species, the summit drew leaders from across the fractured galaxy. Some came in hope, others in fear, but all came knowing that humanity now shaped the future. Cole addressed them in person. He wore no medals, no ornate uniform, just the black of a fleet officer. His voice was steady, unembellished. "We did not start this war," he said, "but we ended it." A low murmur rippled through the assembly. "We will not rebuild the Council," Cole continued. "We will not rule by fear." He looked across the chamber. At Dravari diplomats, Zentari envoys, even humbled Ovrin delegates. We propose a league of free worlds, equal partners, no forced tribute, no centralized tyranny. A bold vision, one many doubted was possible. But Cole spoke with conviction born of hard-won truth. We fought because we were betrayed. We won because we refused to kneel. We offer peace, but peace with strength. He paused, letting the words settle. If you choose war again, know this: humanity will not be caught unprepared. Ever again. The summit debated for days. Suspicion ran deep. But the memory of shattered council fleets hung over every discussion. In the end, a core alliance took shape. Not an empire, a network. Worlds free to govern themselves, but pledging mutual defense. And at its heart, humanity. The species that had once begged for a seat, now holding the balance of power. On the final night of the summit, Cole stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city lights. Maddox joined him, quiet. "You did it," Maddox said. "Broke the council, gave us a future." Cole's gaze remained on the stars. "It's not over," he said softly. "Peace is just another kind of battle." Maddox chuckled grimly. "You're not wrong." They stood in silence for a long moment. Then Cole spoke again. "We'll build this new order, not because we crave power, because if we don't, someone worse will." Maddox nodded. "That's why you lead." Far beyond Earth, in dark corners of the galaxy, scattered council loyalists still whispered of revenge. Plots were born in shadow. But now, when those whispers turned to plans, the same question always followed. Are you ready to face the humans? More often than not, the answer was silence. In the end, the galaxy would remember one thing. When humanity left the negotiation table, they didn't just walk away. They broke the table, burned the hall, and rewrote the rules. And no one would ever take them lightly again.